Gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ, according to Mark. Glory to you, Lord Christ. When Jesus had crossed again in the boat to the other side, a great crowd gathered around him, and he was by the sea. And one of the elders of the synagogue, named Jairus, came, and when he saw him, fell at his feet and begged him repeatedly, "My little daughter is at the point of death. Come and lay your hands on her, so that she may be made well and live." So he went with him, and a large crowd followed him and pressed in on him. Now there was a woman who had been suffering from hemorrhage for 12 years. She had endured much under many physicians, and had spent all that she had, and she was no better, but rather grew worse. She had heard about Jesus, and came up behind him in the crowd and touched his cloak. For she said, "If I but touch his clothes, I will be made well." Immediately her hemorrhage stopped, and she felt in her body that she was healed of her disease. Immediately aware that power had gone forth from him, Jesus turned about in the crowd and said, "Who touched my clothes?" And his disciples said to him, "You see the crowd pressing in on you. How can you say, 'Who touched me?'" He looked all around to see who had done it. But the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came in fear and trembling, fell down before him, and told him the whole truth. He said to her, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your disease." While he was still speaking, some people came from the leader's house to say, "Your daughter is dead. Why trouble the teacher any further?" But overhearing what they said, Jesus said to the leader of the synagogue, "Do not fear, only believe." He allowed no one to follow him except Peter, James, and John, the brother of James. When they came to the house of the leader of the synagogue, he saw a commotion, people weeping and wailing loudly. When he had entered, he said to them, "Why do you make a commotion and weep? The child is not dead, but sleeping." And they laughed at him. Then he put them all outside and took the child's father and mother and those who were with them and went in to where the child was. He took her by the hand and said to her, "Talitha cum," which means, "Little girl, get up." And immediately the girl got up, began to walk about. She was 12 years of age. At this they were overcome with amazement. He strictly ordered them that no one should know this, and told them to give her something to eat. The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Christ. Pray as if it all depends upon God. Pray as if it all depends upon God. And work and act as if it all depends on you. As if it all depends on you. In both these stories, we have people who are, one, desperate and full of hope. Desperate and full of hope. The woman has been ill for 12 years, spent all that she has, nothing has helped. Matter of fact, she's gotten worse. But she has hope that just touching Jesus' garments, she'll be healed. And indeed, it's so. She is. And then Jesus turns to say, "Who?" And everybody's like, "What do you mean, who? There are 50 people here pushing in. How can you say, 'Somebody touched me'? You've been knocked around." You know? But he knows, as it said, power has gone out of him. And the woman comes and confesses all. And notice, when she confesses all, she feels a great relief. That's what happens when we truly say confession. When we finally admit to our sin, to our misbehaviors, to our missed opportunities that we didn't respond to when we finally acknowledge and confess those. There's a weight taken off of us. We're not carrying it by ourselves any longer. We've actually given it away. The woman gives her illness away to Jesus, and Jesus takes it and makes her whole. And then we have the leader of the synagogue. He comes and throws himself at Jesus' feet. I mean, he gives up all his dignity, his pride, his prejudice against who this itinerant preacher is, who the religious authorities are already down on and don't want him messing around with their religion. He throws all that out and says, I don't care. And it's interesting that he goes. He doesn't send somebody from his household to go to Jesus and say, please come. He goes himself and throws himself down, begging. He has hope too. He has hope that this itinerant preacher that he's heard about will heal his daughter. And they get up to go, and then they're told by people, don't waste his time, she's already dead. And when they get there, people laugh at Jesus when he says, she's only sleeping. None of them have hope. None of them believe that God is powerful enough to do what Jesus knows is going to be done through him by God's power. Pray as if it all depends upon God. Both those people pray as if it all depends on God. And they act as if it depends upon themselves to act. Act as if it all depends upon you. That's what we're called to in this life of faith. To trust that God is going to work through us to do God's will. If we but offer ourselves up. If we will let go of our pride and prejudice and throw ourselves at the feet of God and say, use me however you wish. And if that means you're going to take me into places that make me very uncomfortable, talking to people I'm really uncomfortable talking to, spending time with people I don't want to spend time with, so be it, Lord, I'm going to trust you. Pray as if it all depends upon God. Act as if it all depends upon you. Because indeed, both things are true. It does all depend upon God. And it all depends on us